Okay, quickly, we'll be going through an geography IGCSE series on how to answer geography past papers. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be looking at different questions every day. So this is like day one that we want to start the series. So quickly, we'll just go through the questions. So let's see how to attempt some of this geography IGCSE exam question. Now, first, this question have to do with an insert. So an insert is given out. Now, once an insert is given to you in geography exam, the first thing you should do is to make sure you label the part that you can identify on the insert. Now, so if you look at this insert here, we have a steep-sided mountain. Um, Usually this area there represent a farmland. It can also be used for grazing animals, especially along the steep-sided slope. Then this is the valley floor. That is where you have the settlement, and where you have high concentrations of trees there can represent a forest. So this is just some of the basic information about this insert. So the first question is, um, study figure 2.1, insert a photograph of a settlement in Croatia, which is an MEDC in Europe. Now, what type of rural settlement is marked by X on figure 2.1? So there are three forms. They just need you to circle one. And if you look at this, this is a nucleated settlement because they are concentrated in a particular spot. So the answer there is nucleated. Now, they said using evidence from figure 2.1, identify two resources now using figure 2.1 which could be useful, which could have been useful for people who first settled at X. So usually the resources we can see there are trees, we see rocks, there are farmland and grazing land, obviously, and if there is farmland, fertile soil. So any of those options, we actually give you your mark. So you just need two of that. Now, they say describe the site and situation of settlement X. So first, you need to know what is a site and what is a situation. So site is the physical location upon which the settlement is built. That is what a settlement site is. Then situation is the settlement in relation to the surrounding. So what are the things that are close to where the settlement is built are referred to as the situation. But the site is the exact spot upon which that settlement is located. So if you look at this insert, you find out at first the particular site of this settlement is the valley floor here, but the situation are what is surrounding this valley floor. So you have things like farmland, you have the forest, um, you can have the grazing land, all that are situation around it. So that's it. That is just that. So quickly look at how the answer is like. Now in the valley, so that's obviously the site of the settlement. So it's near mountains, hillside, base of a mountain, around steep cliff. So all those are situations. So it's close to the forest, it's close to pasture or farmland. So you just need two situation and one site. You've gotten your full 3 marks. Next is they said suggest two reasons why the settlement at X has maintained or has remained small and not grown into an urban area, and you need to develop your answer. Now, so if you look at this settlement, you find out that there is no space for expansion. And so obviously there is a little flat land, so you cannot add more buildings to this. And also throughout this settlement, you find out that it is not accessible and it is not also close to other settlements. So there are no good roads or rail lines and that will make the settlement grow. So it's not accessible and there is limited flat land. So you find out that more buildings cannot be added to it. Another thing is we can't find any form of industries here, so they are basically residential. So since there are no industries, obviously there will be limited job outside, possibly you being a farmer within this area. So as a result, it won't be able to expand. So let's see what that. So quickly, this is what the answer look like. So it has limited flatland to build. It is on a mountainous area on a steep slope. And what are the explanation to that is that it is hard to build because there's limited flatland. So you can build things such as factories, road, snow blocks. You can't have more houses other than what is there. Now it is isolated, is in a remote location, is far away from other places. So people find it difficult to travel elsewhere, so trade goods or commute because there is no road, rail, transport link. So it's difficult to, it's not accessible. Now, because of limited flatland, obviously I said earlier that there is no industries, there's large workplace, so obviously employment will be limited in this particular area. Now, this is the B part of the question. They said we should study figure 2.2, a graph showing the result of a survey in the USA, which is an MEDC, about where people would like to live. Now, look at this graph. If you look at the graph here, you have age of people between 18 to 65 and over. Then you have percentage. Then you have key. Now, anytime you're answering questions on graph or on maps, and the key is always there to give you an idea of what it means. And you must always learn how to use the key to interpret the question. Now, the first thing here is using information from figure 2.2, okay? Compare the result of people age 18 to 29 and age 50 to 64 who completed the survey. Do not use statistics, so just describe. Don't give values. Now, if you look at this, you find out that people age 18 to 24, 18 to 29, prefer, have a higher percentage of them that lives in the city. So they prefer living in the city. And people age 50 to 64, you have more of them prefer to live in the rural area than people age 18 to 29. Then you find out that both of them and don't like living in town because it's quite less for the two. So quickly you find out that's it. It's just 3 marks. So more 18 to 29 prefer city, more 50 to 64 prefer town, more 50 to 68 prefer rural area, and both group prefer the city, and both group also dislike living in town. So you just need 3 major points. So questions like this is for you to just say what you can see from the graph or from the insert. Now, here is another question. Suggest reasons why many people age 65 and over, so they are quite old, would like to live in rural areas, so they are quite old. So at that age, they are now old dependent. So you find out that most of them are now retired, and so they prefer to live in a quiet place and that is less polluted, that have a lot of green spaces. So that's just the answer. That's it. Why will people move from urban to rural area? That is what it means. So this is what a rural area is. You can look at those definitions up there. So if you look at this image, it can give you an idea of how you should structure this kind of answer. So rural areas are the countryside, while urban areas are towns and cities. So why will people age 65 and over prefer the rural area over the urban area? Simple. At age 65, they have retired and there is no need to work. They are now all dependent. Yes. So rural areas are more quiet, are more peaceful, which will reduce stress. And it also, in rural areas, you experience less crime, there is less traffic, there is less air pollution, and you have more open space and green areas than urban places. So you find out that this is why some people at old age will definitely want to retire back to rural areas. Then the last question here is a case study. Now, I'll just explain it, then I will display a sample answer to this case study so you can actually just pause the video and read it up. Now, it says for a name urban area, you have studied an LEDC. So you choose a country in any LEDCs. Nigeria, you can choose Ghana, you can choose Bangladesh, any LEDCs as a country. Then the first thing is you should name an urban area in that country. So if I'm using Nigeria, for example, I can decide to say Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos is an urban area. I can decide to use Abuja, Nigeria. Abuja is an urban area. Right now, they want us to explain why large number of people migrate to it from surrounding rural areas. So what are they asking you here is pull factors. Why will people leave the rural villages or countryside and they want to move to urban areas? So I have a sample here that I use Bangladesh and Dhaka, which is an urban area in Bangladesh. So you can pause the video and read it up now, but let me just highlight certain things. When you answer case study, always try to bring in place specific references and use statistics, and you can name one project or something within the area that is related to the case study. So here, if you see, I mentioned Dhaka Metro Lane, which enhance connectivity. 80% Bangladesh export earnings. I mentioned 21 million as of 2023. So this is a sample answer that will give you your full 7 marks. Now, if you look at the pull factors here are job, education, healthcare, entertainment, shopping. All these are pull factors that will attract people from rural areas to urban areas within any location. So that's it. This is day one. I hope you subscribe. So I'll see you for day two.